Okay, well, I want to thank everyone for coming out here today. We're at a very special location for a lot of reasons. Number one, we're in the heart of the International District, but in this place, a place that has been a long-term project for the city. This used to be a vacant strip mall that had a lot of challenges, and we eventually were able to clear it. We have sort of our interesting International District business and food hub market right here. And then to my left, we have the future headquarters of the Albuquerque Community Safety Department. And so what a wonderful symbol, first and foremost, of our commitment to what it means to have an alternative response and to have the right response at the right time for everyone in our community. But to do that, of course, this department needs a home, a physical home, a place where they can literally go to work in the morning, be productive, and then be able to head out when they're done. And organize on a 24/7 basis, trying to keep our community healthy, trying to keep our community safe. That is what this building represents. It also is a physical manifestation of the hard work that so many people do each and every day in this department. And we're going to share with you their stories today. So I'm going to introduce them, but before I get to that, I want to remind folks that we're more or less at our 2-year anniversary. We talked about this a little bit about a month ago, and today we wanted to sort of bookend that by sharing stories from the department. This department was really born out of a very challenging era in our country and in our city. And of course, this was the confluence of COVID. It was the confluence of high crime and fentanyl. And it's also the confluence of what we went through with respect to social justice and the murder of George Floyd, and how we thought about responding to different situations differently with folks who are essentially better trained in those particular situations, but also with an eye towards freeing up officers and firefighters and EMTs to go to those either violent crime calls or those life-threatening calls. And that is exactly what ACS has delivered on. To date, roughly, they've responded to about 40,000 calls, and almost half of those have been calls they have taken away from police and fire, especially police. So if you look at it the other way, there's 20,000 calls that the police have been able to respond to faster because they didn't have to go to these calls. On average, ACS, it depends how you calculate it, but their response time is roughly under an hour, which is extremely fast for a non-emergency. And that compares to APD, which their response time for non-emergency, as you know, is much longer. But it is literally an hour faster, no doubt because of all those calls that ACS is taking for them. So you can see this has a ripple effect. But that ripple effect also literally helps people each and every day on our street. And that's what we want to share with you this morning. So to begin to articulate some of these stories, this department could not happen without a lot of people. But there is no doubt, it's not even close, that if you had to pick one person, it would be our director, Mariela Ruiz-Angel, who's made this department a reality. And because of her, this is one of the, I wish there were more things I could say this about, but this is truly an innovative leading project in the country. And how many times can we say that in Albuquerque or New Mexico? Unfortunately, not as much as we'd like to. But we can say that about this. It is nationally recognized 10 times over. And I think the best compliment was last month when Seattle announced they are doing exactly the same thing and literally mentioned Albuquerque and Mariela in their announcement. So with that, let's hear from our director, Mariela Ruiz-Angel.
Good morning, everyone, and good morning to our guests. Today is, we have these amazing numbers, and I typically never correct our mayor, but we're actually at over 50,000 calls to date today, and more than half of those are helping our police, are helping our firefighters really be able to concentrate on what they need to concentrate and allowing us to really be able to go out with the appropriate response. And so today, is really, although the numbers are so amazing and we are so proud of what we've accomplished, going 24/7 in 2 years. I mean, we literally ran before we learned to walk and crawl. And I will say that although we are in this place where we are refining our processes and still hiring, we're also in this place where we want to really celebrate the wins. The numbers are fantastic, but we really want to talk about the story. That's what this is about, right? Some of the most influential stories about police and fire is that moment, the moment that they change the life of and trajectory of an individual that they worked with, the moment that they cared to do, go above and beyond. And I think that we're now in this place where we're can celebrate those wins with ACS. We do it often internally, but how do we do this really from a genuine place and also not make sure that we're exploiting, right? A big part of our job is to protect people in our community. And so I will say I want to thank all of our guests here today who are very brave to tell their story and to talk about their experience with ACS and the 911 system because this is really important work and it would not happen without people who trust us to do our work day in and day out. So I thank you all for being here today. We're very excited about this, and especially here in a location that I think is going to bring so much beauty and joy, and really a place that people from this neighborhood and this community can come to and hopefully call another home away from home, because it is their ACS building. It is their place to feel like they have something that's really about public safety and really appropriate and culturally appropriate for their community. So again, thank you so much, and we look forward to all the beautiful stories today.
So now let's hear from one of our first responders, Victor Goodwin. Victor?
I'm Victor Goodwin. I'm a behavioral health responder too. I've been with ACS for 2 years now. It was great. I moved out here from Oakland, California to pursue my master's in social work. And while in my master's program, we read an article in our social work class that they were starting this department. And I'm in my social work. I'm not even ready to graduate yet. And I said, that'd be really cool to one day work for a department like that. I get to use all my years of working in education, my master's degree, and go out and help the people of Albuquerque. And fast forward to August 23rd, 2021, I get my offer letter, and I've been running ever since. But it takes a little bit to see only a little bit on the job to see why we are so important. We do mental health calls, we deal with our unsheltered population, we deal with down and outs, and most importantly, with our mental health and our suicide calls. But like the mayor said, we get there faster. And our high priority calls might be lower to someone else, but we get to sit there and read the calls. I remember when I first knew that we were really needed here, we went out for a call. The neighbors were concerned. A few neighbors had called on one of their neighbors who hasn't came out the house in a few days. And they know that's very, very unusual for him. He usually talks to all the neighbors. Either he calls them or he comes out and talks to them. So when you get there, they didn't even know who ACS was there, but they knew this was some kind of city car, so they came up and talked to him. They said, "Are you here for Ralph?" And we were like, "Yeah." So what's going on? So we talked to all the neighbors, and they said, his car hasn't moved. We haven't heard from him. One lady was like, "My husband talks to him every day, and she hasn't talked to him in 2 days," and we're really concerned. We called all the hospitals. We made sure he wasn't, just somewhere in the ER, and this was some big misunderstanding. But from their concern, we knew that we needed to get in their house. So we were able to call out AFR. We told them what was going on. We saw open window upstairs, and they got out their ladder. They made the most minimal damage to get. All they had to do was take out the screen. They go inside, and sure enough, Ralph was in the tub, and he had been there for 8 hours. And Ralph was a heavy man, so they had to carry him out. His blood sugar was over 600, and they said if he'd have waited in that tub a little bit longer, we probably wouldn't have saved his life. So we got out there in 15 minutes. 30 minutes later, after talking to everybody, fire got in the house and they got him onto an ambulance. And so that's just one of the many times we were able to make a response, assess the situation, do our little bit of investigation, ask for forced entries from AFR or APD, and we were able to save a life. I'm just blessed to work for this department, and I'm thankful for the visionaries that once had the idea to do radical change on how we respond to some of our 911 emergency calls and get the opportunity to do a job I come through every day. I love what I do, and when I go back home and tell people, I say it with my chest, I work for ACS. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Victor. And another responder we'd like to hear from is Justin Kirsting. Justin.
Thank you, and good morning, y'all. My name is Justin Kirsting. I'm a behavioral health one responder here for ACS. I come with a fire EMS background, and the reason why I really wanted to do this job is because I saw the numerous people that fell through the cracks on the fire and EMS side. You know, a lot of behavioral health issues that we're going in and we're force medicating these people, or we're tying these people down and restraining them. And I think that those are responses that stick with people. Those are very traumatic. It's traumatic being involved in it. It's traumatic to be the person that has to go through that. And so coming into this department and seeing the way that ACS handles those situations, somebody that's really heightened, you know, or in a crisis at that point, and being able to just talk them down and get them to willingly get into the back of your vehicle and allow you, a stranger, to transport them to a hospital or a shelter, or, you know, whatever meets their needs at that moment, it's just absolutely amazing. The other day, we were on a call, and we had just cleared. We needed to use the restroom, so we stopped off at the Maverick, and I was waiting for my partner, and somebody came running up, and they were just like, "Does anybody have Narcan? Does anybody have Narcan?" And so I was just standing there, and I was like, "Yeah, we have Narcan." And so I went to the car, and I got the Narcan. I ran across the street with the fellow that asked, and was able to give the consumer Narcan, and stood by there and made sure, felt for a pulse and stuff. And about 5-10 minutes later, he was able to come back, you know, breathing fine, stood up. We called for EMS, and he decided he didn't want it. But it's those instances, you know, like, we're in the right place at the right time. And they talk about the right response at the right time, but that's literally, you know, if we hadn't have been there, just stopped using the restroom, who knows if somebody would have had Narcan to help that guy, or who knows if the fire department or EMS would have made it to that man in time to save his life. And so that's just one of the instances that ACS is just so amazing, you know, and just everybody willing to do whatever it takes to help the community, you know. So that's really all I have to say. Thank you guys very much.
Now, we're also joined by a family member who is assisted by ACS responders. And so let's hear from Juan Martinez. Juan.
Good morning. Oh, there we go. All right. Yeah, so my name is Juan Martinez, and I'm here with my brother Gerardo Martinez and his children. And I am very thankful for the services of ACS, because my father, who is in his 80s, back in August of this year, he experienced a mental health crisis where he had been acting a little out of character for about a week, and my brother and I kind of noticed that. You know, we tried to ask him, like, what's going on, etc. And then, like, that whole week passed, and we were trying to get feelers of what was going on. And then that following Monday, his, like, mental health crisis got really acute, where he was at home with my mom, their caretaker, and he started to talk about self-harm, harming others, harming neighbors. And my dad has never been in trouble. He's never had any incidents with police. He's very kind. He's very generous. And so that day we had to go into crisis mode and plan, you know, do we call 911? Do we call the regular police people? Or, like, is there something else that we can do? And I remembered there's ACS, you know, they're still first responders, but they are specialists in what they do. Yes, I mean, police get trained to give like mental health first aid. Yes, I get that. But folks who work at ACS, they are specialists at their jobs. And that was the first thing that came to mind. And I dialed ACS, and thankfully, back in August, their hours were only until about 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening. While, like, my dad's crisis, started at about 5 o'clock, and I had to, again, both me and my brother had to just act very quickly, because I knew that, hey, I mean, like, if we don't get a hold of ACS by 7 or 8 o'clock, and if my dad still needs help, just talking him down, getting him to go checked into an ER or to a geriatric psych ward, things were going to get worse that evening. And so thankfully I called ACS. They were able to respond, I mean, like, within half an hour, and come down, send some first responders, talk to my dad, be very culturally sensitive to my dad, being a Mexicano who is very proud of his mental, his mental acuity, to be able to talk to him and tell him, hey, something is going on. Just agree to go get checked out, and we will leave you alone. And they were able to talk him down. They called an ambulance. They took him to the hospital. The next day, he got checked in to a geriatric psych ward, kind of detoxed or just got more stable, and he is back home now. And that is something that I'm very proud of the mayor, of the department, for offering these services to people in Albuquerque. Because last point here, I do remember back in April of 2020, this incident had happened where this 50-something-year-old Spanish-speaking man, kind of similar to my dad, he was just at home. He started to experience some kind of mental health crisis. Things did not go well for that person back in April of 2020. And that was my biggest fear, was that if we called the cops, things would turn out not as well as they did by calling ACS. And I appreciate the cops. They have a job in what we all do here in Albuquerque, but having a very specialized unit, department of ACS, to be able to be first responders for mental health is very important. So thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Juan. And also good to see your brother and your family too. That is a good reminder too. I hand out these cards quite a bit, actually. These are our ACS cards that educate the public on what ACS does and also what they can do to call. And that's something that actually, I think for everyone in our city, there's always this question well, who do I call? But I need help, but it's not, an instant emergency. And so just reiterating the connection between that story and how we're trying to educate everyone in Albuquerque that this service is available. And so part of that, though, is also what we do for individuals, not just on a call, but either to try and prevent them from having a future call or their families from being part of future situations that require first response, is really about our violence intervention work. That's also part of the Albuquerque Community Safety Department. And so to speak a little bit about this, we have Melvin Votto. Melvin?
Hello, good morning, everybody. I joined the VIP program about 2 years ago because I was a victim of getting shot too. And that's what the program was all about. They actually, interrupt the violence that I had was afflicted on me, because they actually did save my life from retaliating on the other people that I did have that remorse against. And this happened 2 years ago on Father's Day. Angel and the team, they reached out to me through another program too here in Albuquerque. And they actually did save my life, you know what I mean? Because they really interrupt the violence that I, conflicted, that I was going to conflict. But VIP did show up and save my life, Angel and his team. There's other programs that I've reached out to that they helped me to join. And I've turned my life around ever since, because without them, I probably wouldn't even still be here. I would have probably been in prison, dead. Who would have known? Homeless again. Because I came from a very hard struggling past. I only had a single mother that worked 2 jobs trying to provide for my siblings, my brother, and my sister. But I've lost my brother since I was a teen. And so I've had a rough past. So that's where I know, well, it led me to this part where I'm proud to say that Angel and his team did help me and did show me that there is another way and that there is programs out here that do help, that do want to help New Mexicans, that do want to make that change. And just it's awesome that I got to be on the other side of things, was out here, you know, the Mexico Stop Gun Violence program too. I was out here, I did a mural over here on San Mateo and Zuniga that I was part of. Over here too on San Pedro and Trumway, did a mural over there. So I'm just very thankful for a program like this, VIP, that helped me out to change a person's life like me around. You know, I came from a past too, you know what I mean? I've been there, I've done that. And I'm just happy that I'm a part of this, you know what I mean? And we do need more programs out here like that people that are struggling, that, you know, people that are felons, that people do come out here from the streets. They need to have more programs like this, and VIP is one of them, a good example for Albuquerque. And I'm very proud to say, you know, that I came from there and I turned my life around, you know what I mean? I've been on a couple runs with them, and it's good to talk to other youngsters too that's been there too, and, you know, telling them a part about my life and where I came from. And I've made music too when I was young, and then, you know, with that came with the violence and everything, the pain, the hurt for me losing my brother. So everything, telling them, like, you know, you're coming through this background, it's like, you know, I've been there, I know what's up. So it's like, you know, reaching out to other people, you know, people coming out of jail too. There's other, you know, women too that are out here too in the VIP program, you know, reaching out to other women, showing that same mutual respect on the level that, you know, understand that we do carry a lot of mental health, pain, and hurt from our past, from traumatized, you know, from our families and from our, you know, back, you know, from our friends and everybody. So with that, I just want to say thank you, VIP, you know what I mean, for really saving my life. They did literally save my life, and you know, stepping in from interrupting the violence that, you know, that was going on here in Albuquerque. You know what I mean? So I just want to thank them and everybody else in that team. And thank you very much. You guys have a nice day.
Melvin, thank you so much, and we're especially glad you're here with us today too, man, and helping those who need the same service going forward. So lastly, we want to hear from, actually we have two more people, but we want to hear from the Health Equity Council. This is a community group that's been incredibly helpful in all sorts of ways. Even, it was 13 years ago through that group in an odd way. That's how I met my wife. So longer story next time. Janice Herrera, come on up.
Muy buenos días a todos. Some of you may know me through my work with the Health Equity Council, but my closest interactions with ACS have been through my volunteer work. I've been responding to people who are down and out since 2001. I do carry fentanyl and a first aid kit and water and other basic supplies, and so I stop in on folks if they look unconscious. And one day I was leaving my workplace and stopped to get a Wendy's burger, going through the drive-thru, and I noticed someone who was unconscious laying there in a bed of gravel. And so, you know, they're face down. I stopped to check, and, you know, I came out, Narcan in hand, water bottle in the other. That's the safest way to go, in my opinion. And couldn't get this person to respond at all. You know, I could see they were breathing, so I didn't administer the Narcan, but I was kind of just watching and trying to get a response when ACS rolled up. And, you know, as someone who's been doing, you know, civilian level response for, at this point, a couple decades, I have a very clear snapshot of like before ACS and after ACS. And what I'm going to highlight I hope through my story is how the specialized clinical skills of the ACS team can lead to positive outcomes that otherwise I don't think are possible. And so in this particular case, ACS came up, and as soon as they announced loudly, "We're with the city," this person sprung up awake. I didn't say the magic words, but when they heard "We're with the city," boom, all of a sudden this person sat up. And the person appeared to be experiencing psychosis, didn't know their name, didn't know where they were, didn't know what day it was. It was, I think, February, and it was cold, and the person's clothes were wet, and they were shivering. They had shoes, they had a coat, none of them were on, all their belongings were strewn about. And ACS tried a lot of different avenues, like, would you like to go to a shelter? Do you need medical treatment? You look really cold. Why don't we get you somewhere where you could stay warm? And nothing was sinking through. This person was adamant they did not want to be transported anywhere, even though obviously it was for their better health to get someplace warm and out of the wet clothes. And so what was key in this case to unlocking sort of the puzzle was a needs-based approach. One of the ACS first responders noticed that her sneakers that were kind of kicked off here and there were smashed down on the backs, flat. And he said, "Oh, your shoes don't fit, do they? If you come with us, we'll take you to HopeWorks and we can get you new shoes in your size. You can maybe even pick from a couple different styles." And this person's face lit up and they started gathering all their belongings. "You can get me new shoes?" And all of a sudden they were ready to go when it wasn't an option at all before. And so we helped get everything together, get it into the car, and I felt confident telling this woman who was about to go off in a vehicle with 3 men she'd never met before, "You're in really good hands. They're going to take good care of you. You're going to get shoes. You're going to get dry clothes. You'll have a warm place and a meal for the day." And sometimes that can make a world of difference. And so to me, that was a huge win. I would have never noticed those flattened shoes. That's the power of having highly skilled, trained clinicians who are able to respond to what are mental health crises. I would have never noticed that. And so I was really appreciative, and I have a deep-seated respect and admiration for ACS. And I personally see the ongoing growth and expansion of the department to support the needs of the community as something that will lead us into a brighter future. So thank you for hearing my story. Thank you to all the ACS first responders for what you do. I wouldn't be able to do what I do without the support of your team. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Janice, and for what you do each and every day also. And lastly, a member from Indivisible Nob Hill with us, Gary Coffin.
Good morning. My name is Gary Coffin. I'm a vice president and a co-founder of Indivisible Albuquerque, formerly Indivisible Nob Hill. I just want to say that Indivisible Albuquerque has been an ardent supporter of ACS since its inception. We've watched it grow and change in ways that we couldn't dream of, and we're super proud of what Mariela has done to push this division forward and create change in our community. We're really proud about ACS's ability to think outside the box. I was able to witness that firsthand. The ACS responders had responded to a woman who was stranded in a parking lot. She had 5 children with her, and she was residing in a trailer. Her car had stalled and wouldn't start, and the owner of the parking lot wanted the trailer removed. ACS responders used every avenue that they had available to them in order to find community members that would, 1, help restart the car, and 2, get the trailer towed somewhere safely. They stayed with this woman and continued to work with her over the next couple of weeks until they were able to, 1, get her and her family into a hotel for an extended period of time, connect her with social workers, and eventually landed her with stable housing for her and her family. Without ACS, I'm not certain that would have been possible. She would have likely, if police had to respond to that call, I don't think they would have had much more choice other than to tow that their shelter, leaving her and her children on the streets. I'm thankful for ACS. I'm thankful for their ability to think outside the box, and I can't wait to see what they do moving forward. Thank you.
Well, thank you all so much. I think what we're going to do is each one of our speakers is available more or less. So we're going to organize. You can speak with them after, as well as leaders and other folks from the ACS department. And so with that, thank you so much for joining us today.